journalists abroad, Sean Hillen. Sean, hello to you.
Good morning, Sean. Thanks for inviting me on the show. And thank you to Caroline for giving me a wake-up call. She's very efficient, and I've had a bucket of coffee, so I'm ready for the day.
Were you going to get up and watch it anyway?
I was, yes, because at the very least, I knew it was going to be entertaining. It's a case of an angry man versus a quite calm and confident woman. It's the first time we've had an alpha male against the first presidential nominee who's a woman. And so I knew at the very least it would be entertaining.
And did it live up to its expectations? I mean, they were saying that this... I never believed this, by the way, because I think it's a lot of media hype. But because it's great for advertising on TV stations, that's another issue. But, you know, this hype that this was going to be it, whoever won this would win the election, I never believed that, because now they're already saying, well, it'll be the last debate that will win it. But did it live up to this hype and the expectations?
Well, I think it probably does mean a small difference in how people will eventually vote. I agree with you, it doesn't make a vast difference. And there are two more debates, remember, one on October 9 in St. Louis, one on October 19th in Las Vegas. But I believe that I agree with your viewer, the person who wrote the letter, Keith, that I think Hillary Clinton won. In fact, the early polls, CNN give the winner as Clinton by 67% and 62%, and Trump 27%, and NBC, National Broadcasting Corporation in America, say that the post-debate polls show that Hillary's chances of winning the White House have gone from 63% to 73%. So it does make a small difference, I think, but there are three debates. And keep in mind that Obama lost the first debate last time round and lost some points, but then he picked up on the other two debates.
What were the main, I suppose, points that they were arguing over last night? I mean, what punches did we see? And did any of them land?
Yes, well, that's the key, is whether knockout punches can be landed, and they rarely are landed in such debates because they've got such highly paid advisors, and they rehearse their scripts over and over and over and over again, so rarely are there knockout punches. But you're the case of an irritable, impatient, inexperienced man improvising most of the time, and Hillary Clinton, who of course has vast experience in the upper echelons of government, being quite prepared. But the main issues were taxes, crime, and race.
I mean, when you consider that this man has no political experience, isn't it incredible that it wasn't a rollover and isn't a rollover? I mean, doesn't that say something about Trump, that he can take these punches?
One has to give him credit. Even the Republicans give him no hope 2 years ago. In fact, they did everything possible to toss him out of contention. And now you have all of the candidates backing him because obviously that's their nominee. So one has to give him credit. But I think the closer we're going to get to the November election, the more is going to come out about Trump. Particularly keep in mind that he has not yet released his federal tax returns. And his excuse is that they are being audited. But the IRS, the tax people, have said, you can still release your tax forms even if they're being audited. And as Hillary indicated in the debate last night, perhaps there's something terrible or something secret that's being kept hidden.
She made the point that his lack of paying tax means that he hasn't paid for the soldiers, he hasn't paid for defence, he's not paying for health. How did he respond to that?
Well, in effect, he didn't respond. He didn't defend that, except by saying that the government would have wasted his money if he had paid federal taxes, which is a pretty weak excuse. He also linked to him being wealthy and him not paying taxes, and the fact that he said he could do more with his money, more good with his money than the government could do with his taxes. He also, of course, supports cutting taxes for the rich, which he says will trickle-down economics will not work. He says that the more we help wealthy people, the better we're off we're going to be. And of course, he is very wealthy. I think he said in the debate that last year or this year he made over $600 million.
This year, I think, Rowan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you heard what the emailer was saying there, Keith. I mean, he said, I thought that was a brilliant email he sent. And he said about the focus, the emphasis seems to be all on money with Trump. I mean, we shouldn't be surprised at that, should we, really?
No, and we also have to keep in mind, and this point was made in the debate, that it's not as if, like you or I, we start off a small business with a few pennies. Donald Trump got what is believed to be around $12 million from his father, and that kicked him off in business. Now, I'm not saying that if all of us had $12 million, we'd all be immensely rich. Some of us might fritter it away and just lose it, but it's quite hard to lose $12 million in business. So it's not, he had a silver spoon in his mouth before it all started. So it's quite natural he would support tax cuts for the wealthy, that he would support this trickle-down economics. It's no surprise whatsoever.
Yeah, but he is seen as tough, and it looks like America is searching for somebody like that. They want somebody in that office who is tough, will make hard decisions, will clamp down on law and order issues, immigration, all of that. He is their man. He speaks their language.
He speaks some people's language, but for example, he accused and has accused Hillary of, quote, quote, not having the presidential look. And when this was brought to his attention in the debate, he said, I said stamina. She doesn't have the stamina. But we've got to examine her record. I mean, she's been in public life for many years, and as she said in the debate, visiting 112 countries, 11 hours in congressional testimony, and negotiated different peace deals. So she has tremendous experience in negotiating, and these negotiations at an international level can be very complex. For example, with Putin in Russia, or in the Middle East, or indeed within Senate and Congress. So I think she's the more experienced for the position.
Now, he landed one punch on her in relation to the 30,000 emails, and it's been suggested that, he said afterwards, I never talked about Bill yet. So, he seems to be holding, and he would have to, I suppose, hold back on some of his armour for the next debates. Just in as much as, there's a lot being held back on him and on her as well.
No, and I also believe, it's a valid point, those emails. I also believe that it wasn't a mistake. It's just simply not a mistake when you use your private email on such sensitive issues. She said it was a mistake. She did say that if she was to do it over again, she absolutely wouldn't make that mistake. It's got her into a lot of trouble. It's made some people be a little bit wary and suspicious of her in that respect. Maybe it'll help her be in her very best behaviour if she gets into the White House, but it's certainly not enough. I don't think it should be enough to sway people from not voting for her and voting for Donald Trump.
Did she look the picture of health? That's been one of the areas of concern in recent times, and we were wondering, and people were wondering, would she have the stamina, as Trump put it, to stay for the race. How did she look last night?
Well, for those fashion followers, I find it quite interesting because traditionally Republicans are red and Democrats are blue. But last night she wore a red dress and looked very well in it, and he wore blue, which is a bit strange. But she looked well, she smiled well, she seemed very confident and calm. In a way, it might be the most lopsided of presidential debates in recent memory. She looked good. She was well prepared, I think, for Trump and for his quite personal attacks.
When you see what's happening in Britain at the moment with the Labour leadership, when you see what's happening with Brexit, people have a view that the whole world is changing in the sense of how it votes on these occasions, and that it may well be the situation that in America Trump gets elected. There are more and more people saying that now. The unthinkable is actually being said now, as you know.
Yes, and maybe it's natural insofar as we have just come through and are still coming through an economic downturn. And in economic downturns, almost part of human nature, we look for those who are most at fault. And immigrants, for example, often take a hit. We become more, quote, quote, fascist in our natures, more parochial, more inward thinking. It's almost natural. But even more so, we should be on our guard against such tendencies. And that's why I think it is important, especially with the comments that Donald Trump has made about women, about immigrants. I think we've got to be on our guard that we don't move in that direction, because obviously it's undemocratic, obviously it's uncivilized, and it certainly in the long run is not going to be of any help or benefit to society.
Okay, 1 down, 2 to go. Sean, thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks very much, Sean. My thanks to Caroline and yourself.
That's the author, journalist and member of Democrats Abroad, Sean Hillen. Now, it's just turned 25.